Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our next segment of making Guatemalan tamales. And this is a private show on the Tamale 101 party. So today we're going to work on how to make the recado. Recado is another word for sauce or gravy. So it's not really salsa, it's a mixture of, in this case, tomatoes, chiles, and spices, and some nuts. So I'm going to get in front of the camera now. I hope I set it up right so you can see the top of my head. Okay, so again, thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope you learned how to make Guatemalan tamales, at least this part. And this is a very basic sauce, recado, and it's used for other meals that you can combine it with pepián, pulque, even any kind of adobo that you want to make. So of course the first part of will be tomatoes. And to make about enough recado for about 3 dozen tomatoes, we'll need about 2 pounds tamales. 3 dozen tamales, we'll need about 3 pounds of 2 pounds of Roma tomatoes. And use a what is it called? Not the pot, so this one's enamel. Do not use aluminum because it really interacts with the acidity of the tomato, and not to get into medical stuff, but it's not a good thing to do. So use a pot that was non-corrosive, non-reaction. I already forgot the word, but this is an enamel pot. And just put in enough water to cover the tomatoes. And when I make sauce for my tamales, I usually fill it up to about this yay. So, but I add more tomatoes. I make enough to make 100. Another thing about tomatoes is when you buy them at the store, usually they cut them a little green, and when they get to the store, you find them red. So there's a conversation about whether to use canned tomatoes or tomatoes straight from the shop, because the canned tomatoes are usually cut from the tree or the vine a lot later when they're already red, because they go from there to the processing plant, and that way you get a little sweeter tomato sauce. That's all I hear. I've never really been able to tell the difference between a tomato from here and a can. So we're gonna start putting these on the heat. I do not have a stove going on here, so we'll just pretend that they're on a fire. So they're gonna cook and simmer for quite a while. Another thing we're going to add will be the chiles. So in a separate pot, you want to get your guajillo chiles, and you want to get as many seeds out as possible. And you can just cut them open with your hand and then put the pieces in here. If you get a few seeds in there, no big deal, because they're going to get ground up anyways. And then you're going to strain them to get all the skin part out, because this can be very thick skin, and the last thing you want to do is eating tamales and picking the skin out of or the peel out of your teeth. So for this one, we're going to be using 3 guajillo chiles. Split them open, remove as many seeds as possible, and usually the fresher the chiles are, the easier for the seeds to come out. And you can get rid of the white veins as well. These you can be a little bitter. And for the ancho chiles, when you buy them, they're usually, buy them in a bag. Make sure they're nice and a little bit spongy and soft, because if they're pretty hard, they're dry, and when you try to crack them open, they'll just fall into pieces. So if you get something that's a little meaty, and actually it's a lot easier for the seeds to pop out. And again, if you end up with seeds in there, no big deal. So we're gonna put another 3 ancho chiles, and ancho is a dried poblano. Actually, a while back I had a poblano that I left on the shelf, and within a week it was looking like my own homemade ancho chile. So again, get rid of the stems, as much of the seeds as possible. Put it in the pot, and if you get more seeds, or even try not to put the stem in there. You don't want any sticks and stones in your recado. And then just get like a red pepper, and we are going to cut it up, open it up. It doesn't have to be pretty, because all this is going to be smashed up in the blender. So for this, we're going to add probably maybe about a cup of water or so, and not too much. The less water you use, the better, because you don't want it too soupy. You just want the juice from the tomatoes and the peppers, and for the chiles to become incorporated with water. What I do is just fill it up, a little bit of water, put it on a stove, bring it to a boil, put a cover on it, turn it off, and let it soak there for another half hour or so while the your tomatoes are also cooking. Okay, so now the fun part will be the pepitas. Okay, told you we're using whole pumpkin seeds, and there's about 101 uses for these. You can make candy out of it in all kinds of different meals. You can add it to guacamole. The other thing we'll be adding is sesame seeds, and you can get the whole or whole sesame seed, doesn't matter. And you're gonna need some cinnamon sticks and some bay leaves. So usually what I do is I take a non-stick pan, no oil, just nice and dry, bring it up to like a medium-high heat, and I start with pepitas, because these will take a little longer to brown than everything else. So if you put the sesame seeds, these will get brown, and then once they brown too fast or too much, they'll actually become bitter. So let it shake around for a while, and just notice it start changing color. Then you will add the cinnamon and the bay leaf. And stir around for a while. You can cover it, because once you start, like popcorn in a way, they'll start popping and jumping around, so good to have a cover on it. But once you hear them popping, it's time to like give it a nice shake, stir it around, and once you start seeing some changing color, then you take your sesame seeds and you add them in there until they turn brown as well. So same thing, keep shaking, cover, keep shaking, and cover. So you will eventually end up with something like this. Nice and toasty sesame seeds and the pumpkin seeds and the cinnamon, and you can actually, too bad you can't smell it because it smells delicious. Okay? And like I said, when you make tamales, you get a blender, you take your chiles, throw them in there, and you can actually throw your pepita mix in there just as it is, because everything will be blended up. And once you are done with that part, you mix it all together. Actually, no, wait, time out. Before you put everything inside there with the tomatoes, you want to strain this. Again, you want to remove skins, any seeds, anything else that's in there. If you want a little reddish color, you can add more achiote to it. And that's basically it. You blend it, you mix it, until it becomes a nice thick sauce. So that is the recado colorado. And once you have that, all you need is the masa, which we'll be making tomorrow. Tonight I'll be cutting up the meat. I did have a little delay today because my plan was to do this in the morning and then do the rest tonight. But actually met with my friend Imelda Hartley, and she is the Happy Tamales lady. And she was the Entrepreneur of the Year for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce this year, 2023, and she was also featured by the NFL during the Super Bowl, and also won the Taco de Oro award over in Dubai. So congratulations to my friend Imelda. And I went to drop something off at her place, and 2 hours later, after talking about tamales and so many things going on, it was like, oh, I gotta get to Costco and buy some pork. So I got the pork, but I'm gonna make the sauce, and I'll probably be back in about an hour and a half to finish this up and show you the end result of that. So thanks for joining. Again, we need 2 pounds of tomatoes, about 3 or 4 ancho chiles, 3 or 4 guajillo chiles, 2 ounces of pepita, pumpkin seeds, about 2 ounces of sesame seeds, a small stick of cinnamon, some bay leaves, and you can throw some peppercorns in there. And one of the other ways of doing this is using a molcajete with a pestle. And we're not going to do that anymore. We do have modern equipment, we have modern bowls. So anything you see here except for this, you can find in the Pampered Chef catalog. So I will put the link for that, and it's already there, but I'm going to add it to it so you can go shopping and see if you find something for yourself. And when you're ready to make tamales, let me know. We were actually discussing having classes where you can come and join us, and we do it step by step. So thank you for joining. I'm going to walk around that way to turn off the live version. Thank you very much.